The planet shimmered green below. It was a vibrant, verdant hue. The color pulsed with life. Captain Eva Collins peered out of the spaceship window, her brow furrowed. The emergency landing had been rough. They were lucky to be alive. The ship had crash-landed in a clearing. Giant fern-like plants surrounded them. Their fronds swayed gently in the breeze. Strange, bird-like creatures flew overhead. They had sleek, metallic feathers. Their calls echoed through the strange, alien forest. Eva turned from the window. Her gaze swept over her crew. Mark, the engineer, was fiddling with his console. His face was pale. He was obviously still shaken. Next to him sat Lena, the biologist. Her eyes sparkled with scientific curiosity. She was already taking notes on her tablet. "Well," Eva said, her voice firm, "we're down, but we're alive. Let's assess the damage and figure out our next move." The crew nodded, their faces grim. They were stranded, millions of miles from home. Their survival depended on each other, and on the secrets this strange green world held. They had been exploring for 2 days. The alien forest was both beautiful and unsettling. Edible plants were plentiful, but there were dangers too. Strange insects with venomous bites lurked in the undergrowth. The air was thick with unfamiliar scents, both sweet and acrid. It was on the 3rd day that they met Jeff. He emerged from the ferns, his green skin almost camouflaging him. Panic surged through the crew. They reached for their sidearms. Jeff raised his hand, a gesture of peace. "S1. Greetings," I said. My voice was surprisingly deep. It was translated by a device on my belt. "I am Jeff. I mean you no harm." I had been observing them, I explained. I knew they were stranded. I offered to help. Eva was wary, but I seemed genuine. My eyes, large and black, held a kind of sorrowful wisdom. I told them about the planet, its people, its ruler, Zarkon. Zarkon was a tyrant. He had seized power years ago. He had killed my family.
Jeff led them to a hidden cave. Inside, strange weapons were piled high. There were rifles that fired beams of concentrated light. There were grenades that exploded with silent but deadly force. I explained each weapon with quiet pride. This was my arsenal, built for revenge. "Zarkon's soldiers are strong," I said, my voice grim, "but these weapons will give you an edge. They are the product of years of research. They are the key to defeating Zarkon."
Eva and her crew were trained astronauts, not soldiers, but they learned quickly. They had to. Their survival, and Jeff's quest for justice, depended on it. The weapons felt strange in their hands, but they adapted. They trained until the movements felt natural, instinctive. As they trained, Jeff told them about Zarkon's fortress. It was a place of cold metal and harsh angles. It was heavily guarded, impenetrable, or so Zarkon thought. Jeff knew a way in.
Under the light of the green moon, we gathered. I unfurled a map on the ground. It depicted Zarkon's fortress in detail. The fortress sprawled like a metal spider. Towers rose like fangs. Walls shimmered with energy shields. "There," I said, pointing to a small vent near the base of one tower. "That is our entry point. It leads to the ventilation system. From there, we can access the main control room."
The plan was audacious, bordering on suicidal, but it was their only chance. They had to disable the fortress's defenses. That would give the resistance a chance to attack, overthrow Zarkon. Eva listened carefully. She analyzed. She calculated. Then she gave her orders. Each member of the team had a role to play. Their success depended on timing, precision, and trust. They were a team now, astronauts and an alien united against a common enemy.
The night thrummed with hidden dangers.
The air was thick with the scent of alien flowers.
The moon cast long, eerie shadows.
Eva and her team crept towards the fortress.
Their black suits blended into the darkness. Adrenaline pulsed in their veins.
They reached the vent. It was small, barely large enough for a human to fit through. Jeff, being smaller and more agile, took the lead.
He slipped inside, followed by Lena.
Mark, the largest of the group, went last. He squeezed through with a grunt.
The ventilation shaft was dark and dusty. The air was stale and metallic.
They moved slowly, carefully. Their footsteps were muffled echoes in the narrow space. Jeff led the way, his eyes glowing faintly in the darkness.
The plan relied on stealth. They couldn't afford to be detected, not yet.
Every nerve ending was on high alert.
They listened for any sound, any sign of movement.
They emerged from the ventilation shaft into a maintenance closet.
It was cramped and dimly lit.
The air was thick with the hum of machinery. They were inside the fortress. Now the real work began.
Jeff used a small device to disable a nearby security camera. Its green light flickered and died. He moved with a grace that belied his stocky build. He was clearly in his element here.
Mark, using his engineering skills, bypassed a control panel. Sparks flew. He grinned.
A section of the wall slid open, revealing a corridor beyond. It was guarded by 2 of Zarkon's soldiers.
They were tall and imposing, clad in gleaming armor. Lena stepped forward. She used a device Jeff had given her. It emitted a high-pitched frequency.
The guards froze, their eyes glazed over. They slumped to the floor, unconscious.
The way was clear.
The corridor was cold and sterile.
The walls were metallic, the lights harsh and white.
They moved quickly, their footsteps echoing on the hard floor.
The air crackled with tension.
The silence was broken only by their breaths.
They encountered more guards.
Each time they disabled them swiftly and silently. Jeff's knowledge of the fortress was invaluable. He seemed to know every turn, every blind spot.
They reached a heavy door.
It was marked with a symbol that Jeff recognized. He glanced at Eva and nodded. Narrator, the control room.
This was it. Eva took a deep breath. She pressed a button on the wall.
The door hissed open. The control room was bathed in the eerie glow of holographic displays. It was deserted.
For now.
The control room was a hive of activity. Alien symbols flickered across the screens.
Jeff rushed to a central console. His fingers danced over the controls. He spoke in rapid-fire bursts. He was trying to disable the fortress's defenses.
Ava scanned the room. Her heart pounded. Where was Zarkon? He had to be close. She could feel his presence like a weight in the air.
A door on the far side of the room hissed open.
A figure emerged. It was Zarkon. He was taller and more imposing than they had imagined. His eyes burned with cold fury. "You dare trespass in my domain?" he boomed. His voice was like thunder. He raised his hand. A bolt of energy crackled towards them.
The world exploded in a blinding flash of light. S1, Jeff cried out.